Hey, greetings fellow slinging agents in the wild. Welcome back to the show. We got our after action report for lot 27 on deck and warmed up for you. Funny little story though, I had forgot to do the edit on this one. So as I began to listen to it for the edit, I realized as the voices bled through my headphones that this episode's content had something raw about it. That this after action report was, for lack of a better word, visceral. And so I got to thinking, why not just release it the way it is, including its raw video? So if you want to see your trusted handler and his Hard Slingers of Yore go behind the scenes of Lot 27, then head on over to our YouTube channel at Roll to Hard 20, and you can watch us kind of go through the outline and flub up stuff that usually gets edited out. I'm just going to leave it in there. Why? Because it shows we're human. Speaking of our YouTube channel, we got some shout outs from over there. I want to welcome our newest subscriber, If and O Picture. Welcome to the channel. Please enjoy our content, both current and archived. There's plenty to choose from, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Also, Henry Anderson thanking us once again for our material, and as always, thank you, Henry. We really appreciate your staying power. Also, from James Wachter, who said he was pumped up for the finale. Well, it's dropped and it's in the world. I can only hope it lived up to everyone's expectations. Balint had mentioned a few episodes ago possibly sharing the agent's stats. That is certainly something that can be done, Balint. I'll get with the other hard slingers and we'll see what they want to do, what they want to drop. I know that Sammy wanted to draw a few pictures of the agents as well, and we could put those on the website or we could drop them on any one of the social media platforms. So we'll get that out there for you guys also. As always, you fellow slinging agents in the wild are the show's life's blood. It continues moving forward because of listeners like you. Sure, the panel of hard slingers as well as yours trusted are part of it too, but really, we're here for you. So remember, if you like what we're putting out, and we love to put out, then consider subscribing to our YouTube channel at Roll to Hard 20. Leave us that 5-star rating and a review, please, on whatever podcast app you listen to the show on. And always, always warm up your dice and top off your glass while listening to Roll to Hard 20 podcasts presenting whatever they've got queued up. And right now, we got our after action report for Lot 27. So enjoy.
Polly still has the stone. And since he's still got the stone, I've been thinking about it. And, in terms of game time, if so much as a droplet gets out and hits the ground, well, then basically we've unleashed a force upon the earth that we've been trying to contain or keep contained. So then my thought would be, okay, it's kind of like that mystical poison you put on the dagger, right? It's instant death. But no matter how well you clean the dagger or the spear or the sword, you can never get rid of it. It's always there. And I'm thinking this is so much like the same thing. I mean, you open it, there's always going to be a residue. It doesn't completely come out. So then what? The container's just as bad. Even if you get rid of the fluid, what happens to the container? So then Ryder said, well, it would probably be best to be encased in lead and put a bunch of acloglyphs on it that if you don't know how to read the correct passphrase or have a resistance to the mental problems that the acloglyphs cause, it acts like your brain turns off. Your brain refuses to see it. Basically, it's not there because your brain doesn't want to recognize that it's there. I'm like, that's pretty good. So I'm thinking the way to dispose of this item would be to encase it in lead because that doesn't degrade, and then put the acloglyphs on it. Then I was thinking, throw it into
the Mariana Trench.
Well, the idea that
I wonder if you could smelt it.
Smelt it?
I wonder if smelting it would make a difference.
Like throwing it into a forge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So like an actual metal crucible where it's not touching the ground. If you were to smelt it and just evaporate it away, but then again, I mean, you're just changing one type of of molecule for another. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Going from
you're
liquid
never
to a
really
gas.
getting rid of something.
Yeah.
You're just changing its baseline structure from, say, oxygen and hydrogen into H2O. That's how that kind of thing works, you know.
Mhm.
So I
How's
wonder if
Polly have the stone?
Because we never got rid of it.
Wouldn't they
Yeah.
ask for that?
Who's they?
you guys are still at the top of the mountain, even though the adventure is done, even though the scenario has culminated. We're looking at the epilogues that we put together, what you guys will be doing when you return. Like, I want you guys to be part of these epilogues when we do put them together. So
See, it makes sense that it's consumed because the process of consumption by a person breaks it down into something else, and therefore they die, but they also get rid of it. Okay, so
So
how do you
Heisenberg
get
doesn't
all
want
of
it
it out
back
of
or
there?
nothing?
Pardon?
Heisenberg doesn't want it back or nothing?
he does. He said to reclaim it at all costs, but because of Paulie's disorder of starting to collect things, which is the thing that's happened to him over time.
Collectomania.
Yeah, he's starting to everything that he does, every mission he goes on, he feels this compulsion to collect stuff as a way of, well, Tone says it best, you know, so he knows that everything that he's gone through is real. But it's almost to the point of overreaching to make sure it's real by, I mean, what's creating what? Is he doing it to make sure everything's real, or is he making it real so he has a reason to grab it? You know, which one's predicated upon the other?
Long term, Odessa will probably be somebody's mission. You know,
Well, it's
they
a
send
good-
a team to him to take him out and take out all the stuff that he has wherever it is. You know,
Well,
I
it
know
is a
where
good
it is. I listen to
possibility.
the episodes.
You guys could all be a mission at some point, you know, once you start getting dead behind the eyes. But let's talk about this mission first. Let's ring us in and talk about lot number 27. Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20 podcast. It is I, your trusted handler, Brian, and with me, my Hard Slingers of Yore.
Greetings.
We're here to talk about our after action report for our homebrew scenario, lot number 27. So you guys got the call from Heisenberg, Agent Adesso, Agent Kimura, to meet at LaGuardia Airport. And we did the epilogues on this, so it's... Did we do the epilogues? I'm sorry, the prologues. We did the prologues, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant to say. Talking about epilogue. Now we're talking about prologue. To meet at LaGuardia Airport, and you actually hooked up with Kimura. I forgot what his first name. Louis Kimura. And your whole thing was revolving around collecting this hex snare. Basically, Heisenberg had mentioned to you guys that this thing had been procured by the Kunsthistorische Museum in Vienna, Austria. Sorry, I can't even find it in my notes. I just had to remember it from memory. And it was an artifact known as the Spiritus Demos. Basically a hex snare that held something in that, if it was ever unleashed upon the world, would lead to its doom. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of go through some of the high points and how you guys felt about the AP, how you guys reacted to some of the things. Because I know that the moment you guys got in the van at the airport, you hit the ground running. You were told to head to the auction. You guys were told to head to the auction house at 23 Rockefeller Street. They have an auction place in there, and the auction had taken place the night before. So you guys were already kind of behind the eight ball. And in fact, you were following suit from November Cell, which had not reported back in and basically had gone missing. So let's pick it up from there.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. My bad.
so November Cell had gone missing. We figured it out that we just need to keep tracing after the people who were looking out for us. And are you talking about this when you say after November Cell went missing? Was this after we got attacked on the subway or before it?
This is well before. When you guys immediately left the airport, you went straight to 20 Rockefeller Plaza, which was where the auction had taken place. And you were to meet with Gregory James, who was the auctioneer at the time. And he had taken some money on the side to run this private auction. And they had tacked it onto the back of the Private and Iconics collection. Basically, that only ran for 26 lots. They asked him to stick around for a 27th, and that there were 3 private bidders that he was supposed to facilitate at the time. But nobody else knew about that, and whether or not November Cell had shown up or not, you were unaware of what how far they had gone into the mission at that time. So I know that when you guys had first came on the scene, you guys came out pretty hot and heavy. Talked to Patricia Lafeu, who was what was she? She was the receptionist up front, and basically told you that Gregory James was the individual that had facilitated it.
Right. Well, as I remember, they had talked to her, and they were told to go look at the warehouse, or they went to the warehouse. From what I remember, is they made entry into the warehouse, but weren't able to find the lots because they'd already been sold. So then they tracked the lots to the subway, and somewhere between the warehouse and the subway, they met their end, except for the woman who continued.
Yeah, and that was
subway.
a person that you didn't even find out had survived until you guys made it to the train track or whatnot. But after you guys had gotten the information from Gregory James, you found out that the buyer was one Deacon Gray. And then when you reported that back to Heisenberg, and you found out that they were staying at the civilian hotel. One of the things I wanted to say is that all the places that we had incorporated in this AP are legitimate places in New York and along the train stops of the Amtrak train heading towards the west. So I like to do that for the listeners. So if they ever take the Amtrak train, they could say, yeah, you know what? I was on the Lakeshore Limited. I remember this in that AP, or I jumped on the California Zephyr. I remember this too, and all these other little things and shit like that. So
yeah, I think we're going to put together a whole sort of vacation package. Go through, be able to relive this whole thing. Culminates at the end of a mountain. You get to kill a bunch of cultists. It's pretty fun.
they're probably just tourists, but tourists, cultists, what difference does it make, right?
What are they doing on the mountain in the blood moon?
They shouldn't be there under that. I don't care if you're just viewing the beautiful blood lunar eclipse. That's out of, can't be doing that.
Right.
Anyways, you guys had questioned this guy and found out he had taken quite a bit of money as his stipend for doing that. And in return, you found out that, like I said, it was Deacon Gray and that they were staying at the civilian. And you guys did really well with putting the pieces together. It's kind of funny because all the episodes are already edited. And I think I did them all within like a day and a half, just like shotgunned through them. And I was really amazed at how you guys put things together and pieced it together with the stuff that you knew you were looking for. Like you found the one guy that was in the bathroom in the civilian hotel, stabbed multiple times. His eyes had been gouged out. He was basically going to expire within minutes. You guys realized that he was still alive, but he should be dead, meaning that these people had just left. Mm-hmm. You figured out that he was probably one of the cultists and that they were punishing him for some reason. You looked in the trash can, you checked his pockets, and you found all the evidence and information you needed to get to Penn Station to continue following their trail.
Well, you set it up real logically, bro, so it was easy to follow. The only thing I can think of to improve upon would be to make Deacon part of the mission. And you only get to Deacon at the end. Deacon shouldn't be part or on the train or part of the group. That is, he sent people to get the artifact. They got it. And he is now going to meet them at the end location. Otherwise, you have opportunities for us to get in there and stop the mission before they get to the train, or try to take the box while on the train, or take the box somewhere en route. And that can be mitigated. I mean, it could be a two-part kind of thing. Like, okay, you got the box, you missed Deacon. You got to get Deacon. Or you don't get Deacon. You just got the box. Okay, well, there you go. Now you got a loose end. Or you get Deacon and you get the box. You wrap it up entirely. Because there had to be some kind of impetus to keep us from doing, or not us, but keep the players from going out and basically just shooting everybody on the train. Because that was something we could have done, but we kept worrying about collateral damage. Possibly a group of players wouldn't be so concerned, or they're faster on the draw and they get to the point where they can do something and they can seize the box in the airplane, or excuse me, in the train terminal, or they seize the box somewhere sooner. I don't know. We did get a picture of Deacon Gray, but we didn't really expand upon it because his ID was part of the room check-in at the Civilian, but we never found him. We never matched his picture with any of the people who were carrying the box.
Well, as part of him not being at the end, though, there was a reason why I had him going the whole time. Mm-hmm. Because he was using a dual identity. He was using Isaac Bauer and Deacon Gray. And because he had an affiliation to Sunset Red, whose CEO owned a yacht that was in Emeryville, in the Emeryville Yacht Club. Mm-hmm. You kind of got the feeling that one or the other was going there, but you didn't know which one it was until later on. You found out that they were the same person.
Yeah, but he did need to be present for that to happen.
No, he didn't, but it was his clout that was getting them where they needed to go. And when he had the added train cars, and one was in both of his names, one was in Isaac Bauer, one was in Deacon Gray. It kind of, I don't know, I try to play on that a little. So I kind of wanted him to be along for the ride, because if you guys could pick it up sooner, I was okay with it. Although I wanted you guys to follow it all the way through. I know Sam had asked a couple times, "Hey, are we supposed to keep following this box or to the end of the line?"
Well, see, that's where the cool moral choices come in, right? We could have taken it at the church, and if we were, all right, fuck it, we're going to do it now. We're going to take the box at the church, kill everybody, including Joey, our driver, because he's now seen too much. And there we go.
Kill Joey.
Don't kill Joey.
But that could have been an alternative course of action. And let's just say we won that battle. We killed everybody, killed the old lady, burned the church down, got the box. And if Deacon Gray's not there, it's still, well, yeah, but Heisenberg comes back and says, or whoever the handler says, yeah, you only completed half the mission. You got the box. Great. Where's Deacon? Deacon's the only one who knows what the fuck this thing is. I mean, we know it's a hex snare, but snaring what? What purpose? Right? The lady was the one that gave us she gave us the clues and the means to destroy it by saying, yeah, it's got to be consumed by a woman. Okay, that's important information now, but you don't get that information if you don't follow it. I think during
Heisenberg's initial briefing, I think he had mentioned that there was an entity or something to do with this Deimos familiaris.
Right, exactly.
That was in there, but you didn't know who it was,
right,
or how to deal with it, or how it's consumed, or how it's let loose.
Right.
He was,
and you don't find that out if you take the box too soon. That should be the reward. Sam?
And when you guys finally got on the train and made it onto the Lakeshore Limited, and you guys started traveling along, trying to find out where these guys were and what they were doing, there are a lot of stops on that train. So it was cool to see you guys monitoring whether or not they got off or stayed on, or whatever. Eventually, when they got to the Chicago Union Station, and then they got off and took the shuttle van to that church, and you followed them, I didn't think it was going to be that hard. And you guys later on at the end of that episode, which was more of an exposition type of an episode, that's when you guys had mentioned, man, I really didn't know what to do here. what we were supposed to ask the lady, because the guys went in. They were in there for about an hour. They came back out with the box still with all these runes upon it. And then you sent Nakamura and Joey to go follow it back to the station. And you guys went in to go investigate. And I think where you guys got stymied were the questions to ask Gretna Green. And I thought it'd be pretty simple, but I guess I wrote it too simplistic, that it seemed like it should have been more complicated, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the issue was
I didn't know if we needed to take
tracking
her out or anything, like that was the thing. It was like, was she something that we needed to tie up? Was she non-threatening, but may have to send someone after to go, silence her? So I wasn't necessarily sure what we were supposed to do there, because all my instincts were like, as soon as they're coming out, let's gank them and get the box. But it's like that didn't seem to be because we had to follow it to its destination. So it was like it was screaming to do something, and it was fighting against the instincts of wanting to do what I wanted to do or thought we had to do. But yeah, that was the one part that kind of threw us for some reason, because we got confronted by an old woman.
and I thought that once you got the info, I thought for sure Odessa was going to take her out. Just, I was counting on that, because technically she has the loose ends of knowing the information about Official the Vial, in what's contained within that stone. And so I just figured that Odessa wouldn't have let her retain that knowledge to pass on to anybody else, because that she does now. Not only does she know who has the stone, she knows what's in the stone, and she knows who's going after the men who have the stone, which are the agents. And I just figured that was like a huge loose end that Odessa would have just said, okay, flip her off switch and get back on.
Well, what threw me...
I got to jump real quick. Hold on real quick. I got to check on the boy, okay?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
What throws me was the fact that she said she wanted to die. And then I'm thinking, well, now we have an opportunity to dispose of the entity by having her consume it. She knows what it is. She knows what she has to do. Possibly that's the solution. Bring it back to her. And then she can make sure that every drop that's conceivably done gets out of that. And then she consumes it, and then it's dealt with.
I think as a vessel, though, I don't know if she is a viable one. She's so fucking old that I think it probably would have killed her and then just worked its way through her. Probably right out of her fucking anus, for all we know. It would have just sizzled through her. Because even though it's not specified what it does to the body, you know that it's going to take the body out. And you would need something that was younger and stronger. I mean, her body was balsa wood and Kleenex. So, but I honestly thought that you were going to take her out. I was like, oh, he's going to
Maybe we come back and she says, you need somebody younger. Somebody who can do this.
And I know that when you guys were on the train after you left the... Chicago Union Station, you were thinking that this thing's going to make it all the way to the end of the line, which is in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the next stop, they had gotten their private cars. And then you started finding out that you were going to need more weapons. I forget what had gone on that precipitated that, but you had made a call to get something more powerful, which is when you drew the luck of the draw with the 50 caliber Browning, which was nice. But when that little girl went
caliber Barrett, but whatever.
What's that?
Barrett makes a 50 caliber rifle.
Oh, sorry, it was 50 caliber Barrett. Yeah, that's right. My bad. When you got the 50 caliber Barrett, and then I forget at what point the little girl had gone missing. And then
she got missing before the second stop, because we were there. She was in the observation car. There's a stop, and then she goes missing.
Right. I think that was in Gainesville.
I think you're correct.
And You guys ended up driving along, continuing along, and I know that each had spoken with the conductor and the father, wondering how, what was going on, and that this little girl had gone missing.
Yeah.
And when he was questioning him, they were wondering whether or not the girl had played hide and seek or not. And that obviously the father's like, nope, that's not the case. That's not the case. And then each started going with the conductor, wanting to look at those private cars.
Yeah, the private cars were arrived or added in Denver, Colorado. It says 7:15 Denver, Colorado arrival. 8-year-old girl missing on the train. Private cars added at the stop. So when the private cars were added, that's when she went missing.
Right. And I know that everybody was wondering, where's this girl, and whatnot. You guys put it together pretty quick that she must be in one of the cars. Well, the first car, nobody answered the door. Second car was the same old couple that you had met back on the Lakeshore Limited. Mm-hmm. And the third car had Deacon Gray on. So, and then it was later on you found out that they had rented the first car under Isaac Bauer's name. And that was where the little girl was at. Basically, they had bathed the stone in her blood. And
do we find out why that was necessary?
The reason why is because I think that somebody had made a mention that when you look at blood under a full blood lunar eclipse, the blood looks black. I think Gretna Green had mentioned that. And so they wanted this milky quartz stone to be bathed in this crimson. So when it was under this moon, it was a black color. So then that's when they would strike it open. It was part of whatever their cultist ceremony was. But you were correct in assuming that that's what they were doing with the girl, that they were using her for part of a sacrifice or whatnot. So
yeah, I like the idea of the, putting together the lore of, she was like what, 12 or something, even younger or something.
I think she was 8.
Yeah, poor kid.
Yeah.
It's all made up. I'm all poor kid, but it had to be, the blood of a pure or innocent to coat the stone in order to draw forth. It's like the first offering to the, that blood god in there, and then bathing it under the moon, the blood would slowly turn black and fade away, and that's when the inner stone, that thing inside, would start to glow, like it blood for blood, sangre por sangre. It needed that offering to awaken the dormant state of that old entity in there.
So is that our way to cleanse it then? We cleanse the stone, the blood's offering is gone. Now it's vulnerable to be destroyed.
It just needs to be ingested by, did you say a girl? Right? Or
I think
it was a girl, right? Yeah, woman. And then
preferably a young one that is strong, though. Like I was saying, Gretna Green, her body wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be strong enough. So
maybe her daughter.
Possibly.
Crush the stone with those hands.
Yes. Well, I did allude that her daughter, Anna, well, as she described to Anna, is possibly someone that you guys may have crossed paths with. I never really said Anna's last name from any of the previous APs, and it's possible it could be Green. That'd be strange. Delta Green, Gretna Green. By the way, I don't know if I ever told you guys that the way how I got that name, Gretna Green. There's a road that I passed by. It's Gretna Green is the name of the road. I was like, that is a fucking cool name. I got to put that in the next AP. So
I at first was thinking it was based off of Cabrini Green, which was from Candyman.
You know what? Yeah, I knew you were going to think
that too. And it was spooky,
too.
So it's a cool sounding name.
I thought that's where you might have thought it went from, but I was like, I wonder if Sam will think that. He probably will, but now when I see this road all the time, I'm like, yeah, that totally reminds me of a good name for like an old lady, and I'm like, I got just the NPC that I want to put together for that. So
yeah, I think it's a place or a town or something in Scotland. And, oh, hey, Gretna Green, hey, great,
Well, when you guys had eventually got back on the train, and Adesso had gotten his sniper rifle, and you guys were stuck on the tracks. I remember you guys saying, "Well, we're going to get out of Colorado by the end of the day." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you definitely, you keep going. You'll be in California probably that night." And then the train got stuck, and that was designed to make it so that the next stop, which was Glenwood Springs, you were forced to wait till you got to it. And because they have those hopper cars all on the track that have all the sand and stuff, so that the winds won't buffet the train as it's going through the Rocky Mountains and stuff. I was like, it'd be kind of cool if the cultists had knocked that over to hold it back, so it was forced to get there in time, so they wouldn't have people looking for this little girl, the authorities already on the train and stuff. It would just, so when you guys got to Glenwood Springs, at that point, the moon is starting to come up, the stars are starting to pop out, the sun's long down, and you guys started following Deacon Gray and his men as they got off the train. And I made a point of saying that the train was going to leave in 10 minutes. And at 6 minutes, they hadn't turned back, meaning they were beyond the point of return to get back to the train. I think each had noticed that they were all heading towards one of those sky lifts. And I just always wanted to put one of those in an AP where you guys are going up this fucking mountain in these sky lifts, wondering if these bastards are going to turn this thing off on you while you're in mid, between points and stuff. Leaving
that should be in the handler's notes, that if they don't leave someone behind, that's what happens.
It was highly possible that was going to happen. There were a lot of times you guys did a lot of cool things that that prevented me from really taking advantage of you guys on the road, and you guys not having to roll up new characters. Because there were times I was like, if they get into it with these cultists at some point and they're not prepared, or even if they get stuck on the sky lift, because you're getting closer to the end, there's got to be, the stakes have got to keep getting higher and higher. Because if it's the same, then it's like, well, it really wasn't that hard. We were just going through 24 pages of an AP, and we just made it from one end to the other and wasted a couple hours. I want you guys to feel the fear that, these guys could take you guys out, or you could definitely just take them out, or what's going to happen with this stone and stuff. But for you to have left Nakamura down below, that was really cool, because who knows, I might have rolled the dice and said, okay, one of the guys stays behind and tries to fuck with the toggle or whatever. He sees that, makes an alertness check to see whether or not you guys are being followed.
Breaks out the bolt cutters.
Yeah,
snip,
or makes an intuition check, which will be something we'll be adding in. So
what I really liked about this, so first of all, those sky cars, it reminded me of that old, I don't know if you remember it, Tony, that old show, I think it was Nighthawks with Stallone, and he was like following Rutger Hauer up there. It was like a really intense moment. It was tense here too, but what I liked about this AP was it felt like a Bond type spy movie, because you had these great locations. You're on a train, right? You're going through the Rockies. We're headed to California, to the coast with a big yacht, and then you're stopping, and it's like, oh, now we got the mountain cars are going up. Like each of those scenes, I'm surprised we didn't get on top of the train, so I was pretty let down. But that would have been awesome too.
I would have told you couldn't. I told you that they had windows over the private cars. I thought for sure you were gonna monkey your way up to the top, and like had you gone up on top and looked down in car number one, the roof would have been, the what do you call those, like the shade would have been open, and you would have just seen the carnage down below. You would have had to make a sanity check, but you would have seen the carnage down below, and you would have known, fuck dude, there's the body right there.
Yeah, well, we knew it was there. We knew it was in one of those rooms. You just couldn't prove it, and old Lewis wouldn't let us in, and I didn't want to strong arm and give away, because I didn't know if the cultists knew we were following them. That's why I held back. I think it was by room number 1, when he was checking room number 3, and then I got to hear that he said, was it Isaac Bauer? When he said his name, I'm like, the effer's in there. Okay.
Yeah, I think he called him Mr. Bauer. That's
Yeah,
right.
and he
Yeah.
couldn't see me because I was down the hall. So the recon went great. Like I didn't need to see what the guy looked like. I just needed to know he was in there, and I was able to confirm, like, all right, dude's in there. But yeah, I actually didn't think about going on top of the train. We were
I didn't
stopped
either.
at that point too, right?
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Well,
You guys are still underway at that point.
I don't think I would have tempted to climb up on the roof of a moving train,
Make an
going through the
athletics check
Rockies.
while you're moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got my sword in my cheek.
Tonto, just working your way up this
Obsidian blade.
But yeah, I liked the thought of it going through the different locales and all these exotic places, even though they were technically still in I almost said DC. That's in the next one. New York City, and then getting on the train and going, and then thinking you're going one place and actually getting off at the other. Then you're going through this small little town, and then you're going up the skylift into the mountain, and I wanted it to have that always getting bigger and bigger feel to it. The little
started
auction
the
house.
fancy art house. Yeah, we started
Yeah.
at the auction house. Then we, there was the civilian hotel with the tattooed guy running away when we caught him,
Yeah.
or when we went up there, and then going to the creepy old lady's house. There were a lot of really fun locations. Like this would have made a fun, 3-part X-Files or 3-part spy flick or something like that.
It's funny because lately I've been watching the X-Files, like the older ones, when they had some good flavor to them. I still like that show immensely. I think that, and not even the alien aspect, but the like just the monster-esque, or the cultists and shit. I think that it's a huge inspiration for when I write my own home stuff. Is that, and True Detective, Mindhunter, Millennium, that old show with Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
I loved that show too. They had that whole thing where these people just were thinking constantly about the end of the millennia and how that would affect everybody's brain and shit. So they're trying to usher this darkness in, and I don't know, it's been a long time since I watched it, but from what I can recollect, I really enjoyed that show too. So they're all major.
This was a different adventure too, because, well, one, it had that super fun spy element, or like espionage, sneaking around. I at no real time feared for my life until the very end, which is weird for a Delta Green game. Like the cultists stood up to us, and the poor homeboy just got smoked fast.
Yeah.
got killed with his own knife, basically.
Well, imagine.
But it was great. I felt very powerful, but the part that was tense was the oh my God, what are we going to be going up against next? What is the thing? Like the cultists, like I called it earlier, it's like these are a bunch of wimpy college Berkeley, dudes that are like got into some cult. It's like they didn't know how to fight for shit, but
Well, they're just humans. In their defense, they're just humans. But could you imagine how the combat would have gone if Odesso didn't have the 50 caliber Barrett?
would have taken slightly longer. Me and Makamura would have taken care of business.
But Odesso got shot too.
Yeah.
He didn't dodge.
And Makamura shot right next to him too. So he was deaf and wounded.
Blew an eardrum.
But what the? Yeah, it was just I wanted you guys to be putting the pieces together in this scenario rather than fighting, because you shouldn't be fighting all the time, because once that starts happening, then you start losing blood, you start losing HP, and you don't
sanity.
You don't gain it back that fast. It could take you sleep one night, you get 1 hit point back. That's negligible.
Yeah.
Well, this was one of the first. Well, I've had fun in all the APs, but this one was where I really felt like the agents, we were on top of things, on point. The only fear was that of the unknown of what's going to happen. That they didn't pose a threat to us at all, in my opinion. Like I knew we could take them out. The threat was if they see us, we could compromise the whole thing. So that's why there was so much effort put into like, all right, we'll switch up things so it's not the same dude kind of patrolling the hallways. Makamura do this, and Makamura was a awesome star player because normally we're playing with, it's just Tony and I, Adesso and Ichi. And then in the previous games, like we had, all four of the agents together where you could really cover a lot of ground. But having that Makamura, even though it's an NPC, we were able to have him do things that needed to get done that would probably be boring for the listeners if one of the agents was like, all right, Ichi, you're still on your phone. You've got to level 60 on Diablo Immortal. What do you want to do? I'm still watching the hallway for another 2 hours. We could have Makamura do that while we were doing the more interesting stuff for everyone to listen to and for us to do. And then we could, keep in touch with Makamura and then trade off, like when I was watching it, we could have the more interesting things happen and for stuff for us to figure out.
And it is good to have a passive NPC that could make rolls and help move things along. Like every time he was making an alertness check or something, and I was rolling to see if he did or not. That way it doesn't like cheat in that sense, but it helps keep you up to speed that if you had another person on the team, they would still make that check. I took away their agency, obviously, because you guys run the show when you guys are doing it. But when you said that, it seemed like you guys were more agents investigating and coming to the conclusion of the things that you did in this AP. That's totally true. Because I liked watching you guys put the pieces together. It was 100% cerebral. Up until you got, I guess 98%, until you got to the end, maybe 97% because you fought the guy on the
conductor guy
platform. Yeah. you dealt with that guy too. So
the guy who ran from us at the Civilian, what was the deal on that?
He was an ex-con. He didn't want to get embroiled with all this stuff.
He was there to freak out and run to draw us away. That's why it's like, Makamura, you go take him.
Yeah, well, I mean, it had it to where he recognized your authority and he wasn't going to start answering to it because he was on parole. He'd gotten the job from a brother-in-law or something like that. And the last thing he needed was to get sent back on something stupid. That's why he had all the tats and shit like that. He had the wispy hair in the back. He was a total degenerate that had just happened into this. And he's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. This isn't even worth it for minimum wage.
So I thought he was part of the Fight Club at first until he ran, because I thought like, oh, they have one of their cultist dudes working here. That's why they can get the rooms. And if dark and shady shit happens, like, the concierge guy can say, oh yeah, we don't need to clean up right now over there. Just go to the other, you know what I mean? Like he was like in on it, but that's what I thought at first. But as soon as he broke, and he also had hair, so
yeah.
But he might have been one of those, like, the Fight Club guys, like, everywhere I'd go, the guy goes to the restaurant, he's like, hello, sir. And he's got the bruises on his face and everything.
Yeah. Now he wasn't part of the group. And I also wanted to give the feeling like that Deacon Gray and his men weren't affiliated. They weren't from New York. They had the German accent. They weren't from this place at all. Because they had to give the information for the bidders account back at the auction house. And all that stuff is true, by the way. When you're doing anything with that particular auction house, you have to open up a bidder's account and they have to have all that information. They take a certain percentage and they need to know your financials and shit like that. So
right.
That's the kind of stuff
you can make good on a bid, or you're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're not really a bidder. You're just driving the price up for the ultimate.
Yeah.
You're working for the seller.
I like how Odessa was going to take that 1.2 million minus the commission fee.
I'm still sad that we didn't do that.
Well, you guys enjoyed Makamura so much that in the next AP, Collateral Damage, you will come across another NPC, William Dalton.
The name's Dalton.
So,
does he do sweet ass roundhouse kicks?
He might. Now that you said that, I might make him more of an ass kicker.
Hey man, what's your name? Coffee, black.
But I have thought of some pretty cool stuff on this one, and I'll run it by you guys later for the new one. I really enjoy it. But I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight.
Right.
And,
Excellent.
What's that?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yes.
But I'm glad you guys enjoyed your time going through lot number 27. We spent, 8 hours recording that, not counting this. So
yeah. And like 6 of them in a row, right? Like that was,
yeah, we did.
And then the other ones,
We did the next 2 the next day, like
yeah. Well, maybe got to
early
cut
in the
that
morning.
part.
Yeah, let's not leave that in.
Yeah, maybe want just reminder, writer, cut that part. But yeah, we got to play it. We got to play this campaign almost continuously. Like, and that is so much fun because you're on it. You remember the names, you remember the feelings, what's going on. It's fun playing on a weekly basis, but you kind of the week gets in the way of the weekend, and then you forget things and you're like, wait a minute, where were we again? Like there were countless times that we were going to do something in a campaign and then something happened and Ryer's like, hey, remember last week when you were going to do this? Yeah, you didn't. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, and if you go 3-4 weeks, that may be 3.5 episodes back.
Yeah, didn't we? That was in the previous campaign where we were going to set up a watch at Joe Krista's house, and that just fell through because we couldn't follow up on it.
Yeah, that's right. You were going to have Heisenberg post somebody at the Spivey residence.
Derringer. Yeah.
Yeah, Derringer. God, even I forgot. Okay, well, I'm going to say goodnight, and then we'll get ready for the other episode.
All right. So just chill to the next episode.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right. Good night. Thank you for joining us once again on Roll the Hard 20 podcast. Remember, you can find us and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora Radio, iHeart Radio, Amazon Podcasts, and Audible. And if you like what you're listening to, be sure to leave us that 5-star rating and review. Don't forget about our YouTube channel at Roll the Hard 20. So if you're into watching and you want to help support the show, then head on over and hit that subscribe button. It really does help the show out. We can also be found in the wild on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so don't forget to look for us there and check us out. You can also contact the show directly at rollthehard20podcast@gmail.com or head on over to the website at rollthehard20podcast.com where you can download the current show directly, pick and choose past shows from our archives, or view our galleries. We've got a lot of stuff posted over there, so check us out. And finally, join us on our Patreon at patreon.com/rollthehard20podcast, where you can become a hard slinger and pick up swag. So until next time, keep your dice warm and your glass topped off as you roll those hard 20s.